Hi, PerspectiveWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here at midday on Thursday, January 28th. We have a lot to talk about today. We have an Arctic air mass that has arrived in the mid-Atlantic region, the northeast U.S., increasing north to northwest winds, bringing in that very cold air. Tomorrow will actually be the coldest day of the season so far in much of the northeastern quadrant of the nation. And we have a significant winter storm, it looks like, headed for the mid-Atlantic region, the northeastern part of the nation during the early part of next week. It looks like it could be a long duration event that could actually impact places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City from Sunday all the way into Tuesday. And we'll, of course, focus in on that scenario over the next few minutes. I thought we'd just kind of give an overview of the situation that's developing for the early part of next week. We used this map yesterday to kind of outline what I expect to happen at the surface in terms of low pressure areas, and I'd like to go through that analysis once again. First of all, California continues to get hit today by another storm system. They've been hit by several storms in the past couple of weeks. Typical this time of the year, there's heavy rains in coastal sections and heavy snows inland. The Sierra Nevada mountains, for example, across eastern California have just been pummeled by tremendous amounts of snow, and they'll receive another 5 to 10 feet of snow from this particular storm system. Once it bypasses California, it'll spill out over into the Colorado Rockies region early this weekend and then cross over the middle of the country. And at this point in time, it most likely will move right near the Ohio River, reaching a position in Ohio by the latter part of Sunday. And at that point, its upper level support will tend to weaken, and upper level support will actually shift towards the mid-Atlantic coastline, and a secondary system will form probably in this region right here later Sunday night into early Monday. This will then become the dominant player. Basically, this system will have reached its northern extent by late in the upcoming weekend over the state of Ohio. Kind of transfers its energy to the developing storm over the mid-Atlantic coastline. This is kind of a natural area for storm systems to develop. There's a tremendous temperature gradient from the still relatively warm waters of the Atlantic Ocean, the western Atlantic, and the cold air over the landmass. So not only will there be some upper level energy, upper level support kind of rotating around the base of a trough associated with this initial wave, but there's a natural temperature gradient right in this region. This will then slide to the north along the eastern seaboard, and it will help to cause a long duration event. It looks like phase 1 snow associated with the initial or the primary wave of low pressure will begin on Sunday in places like D.C. and Philadelphia, maybe by Sunday night in New York City. There could be a little thumping of snow on the front end here associated with warm air advection in phase 1, or the overrunning. And then the coastal low itself will generate precipitation, probably extending from Monday all the way into Tuesday in the I-95 corridor region. Another important player, there will be a strong cold Arctic high situated up north that will funnel in cold air all weekend long, and a strong blocking pattern in this part of the atmosphere over eastern Canada will really slow down the movement of the coastal storm as it tries to move to the north and east. And basically it'll tend to stall out, maybe even kind of rotate around. It could even retrograde west at one point back towards the coast. That's why we're expecting a long duration event from Sunday into Tuesday. Again, the initial low pressure area tends to die out over the Ohio Valley. It'll transfer energy to this mid-Atlantic coastal storm, and then that will become the dominant player as it slowly moves to the north and east near the mid-Atlantic coastline. Well, let's show some maps now from the 0Z run of the Canadian model. I think the Canadian model has actually had quite a good handle on this particular situation. The GFS is still having some issues, and we'll kind of talk about that later on here, but the Canadian model, I think, has had a good handle on the situation. By the way, I tend to emphasize the 0Z and the 12Z model runs, and that's because that's when the latest Radiason data gets input into these computer forecast models. Typically, Radiason balloons are launched twice a day in the U.S. and many places around the world at 12Z and 0Z, and that data is fed into the computer forecast model. So by the time you get to the 6Z or the 18Z runs, kind of have a stale or older upper air data involved. The surface observations are, of course, updated for those particular model runs, but the upper air data is crucially important. That's where the jet streaks are, and that's where you can depict where the upward motion may lead to some surface storm development. So again, I place an emphasis on 0Z and 12Z model runs. Last couple of weeks, we've seen a lot of maps posted from the 6Z run or the 18Z run, and you really have to take those with a grain of salt unless the trend at 6Z or 18Z confirmed at 12Z or 0Z, the next 6-hour run of the computer models. This is the forecast map for Sunday evening by the 0Z Canadian model. This is the 500 millibar height anomaly. I just want to point out here what's going on. First of all, notice this particular well above normal heights over just to the west and southwest of Greenland, the northeastern part of Canada. And this is a crucial player here because this represents the blocking pattern in the upper part of the atmosphere. Again, we're looking at a map for Sunday evening. And here is your deep upper level trough right here, sliding slowly into the eastern part of the nation. Notice also a little bit of a kind of a closed upper level low. Once this storm system develops off the Mid-Atlantic coastline later Sunday night into Monday, it will run into this block, and it will really slow down to a crawl and may even retrograde a little bit west back towards the coastline. That will lead to the long duration event from Sunday's front end snow, phase 1, the overrunning type precipitation, all the way into Tuesday with the coastal storm precipitation. So this is a key player, kind of a negative NAO pattern of a west-based negative NAO when it's south and west of Greenland, and that will cause the coastal storm to have an impact in D.C. and Philadelphia and New York City all the way through Monday and into the day on Tuesday. Well, let's now walk through the vorticity field, the 500 millibar vorticity maps from last night's Canadian model run. We have our storm system off the Carolina coastline this morning. Let's now move ahead, and we're starting to look here in California by early tomorrow. The wave of energy in the upper part of the atmosphere associated with that California storm that's pounding away today and tonight starts to make a move, and it will slide across the middle part of the nation, and the low pressure area will then tend to move over or near the Ohio River. By the time we get into Sunday, there'll be a surface low pressure area headed for the Ohio Valley, probably over Ohio itself, the state of Ohio, come Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. And at the same time, you'll start to see energy on the south side of this broader upper level trough start to rotate around, and that in turn right in here will set off a wave of low pressure over the Mid-Atlantic coastline by the time we get into late Sunday night, early Monday. This then will become the dominant player, and you can see here it will kind of slide up along the Mid-Atlantic coastline, and it will run into that blocking pattern in the upper part of the atmosphere. Even a closed low associated with this particular feature by the time we get into later Monday into Tuesday. So a long duration event, and as this system encounters that block in the atmosphere over the eastern part of Canada. Well, let's now take a look at the surface forecast maps from last night's run of the Canadian model. The first thing I want to point out here, this is the forecast map for early this afternoon. Look at these isobars right here. Winds blow parallel to these lines of equal pressure, or isobars, counterclockwise around a low. So this is just a tremendous fetch of northerly winds here all the way up and down the eastern seaboard, and that's your Arctic blast moving in from Canada into the northeast, into the mid-Atlantic, all the way into the southern part, southeastern part of the nation. So just a tremendous fetch of air from the north to the south, and that represents the Arctic blast that will set the stage for this winter storm early next week. Let's move forward now here as we go into the day on Friday. First of all, notice here by early tomorrow we have a strong cold Arctic high over the south central part of Canada. Still a tight pressure gradient with north to northwest winds along the eastern seaboard. Tomorrow will be really the coldest day of the winter so far, with a combination of air temperature and winds causing wind chills way down in the single digits along the I-95 corridor region. Temperatures will not escape the 20s. Places like Philadelphia and New York City struggle to reach the freezing mark on Friday in Washington, D.C. Let's now move forward here, and this is a key player here, this high pressure area up to the north. This is now the Saturday morning forecast map, and here is our wave of low pressure now pulling out of the southwestern U.S. towards the central plains, and it will gather some moisture here from the Gulf of Mexico and become quite a snowmaker from places like Nebraska across to Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, latter part of the upcoming weekend, a significant snow event there. And here we go, the Canadian model by Sunday afternoon has snow on the front end here. This is the phase one associated with this Ohio Valley low. It's really like a warm air advection, an overrunning type of situation. And notice the snow has already broken out across D.C., just about to move into the Philadelphia area, the southeastern part of Pennsylvania. Arrives perhaps as early as Sunday morning in D.C., Sunday afternoon in the Philly area, maybe Sunday evening in New York City. And it's at this time that the low right over the Ohio River in southern Ohio come Sunday evening starts to weaken. And notice this extra heavy area of precipitation here right along the mid-Atlantic coastline. This is the time where that upper level feature rounds the base of the trough and heads towards the mid-Atlantic coastline and helps to set off the development of a low pressure area, a coastal low. Still snowing Sunday evening in the I-95 corridor region, and even just to the south and east of there. And then low pressure starts to form right along the mid-Atlantic coastline by the time we get into late Sunday night, Monday morning, and it will encounter not only a surface high over southeastern Canada, but much higher heights than normal, a blocking pattern over eastern Canada, and this system will slow down to a halt. And notice here, range snow line, a mix is certainly possible in and along the I-95 corridor region late Sunday night into early Monday. But as this system then kind of spins around over the western part of the Atlantic Ocean, colder air will filter back down from the north to the south. And if there's a changeover in D.C., for example, later Sunday night into early Monday, it's liable to change back to snow later Monday into Monday night. Same thing goes for the Philadelphia and New York City areas. Any kind of mixing Sunday night, early Monday is liable to change back to all snow as this system pulls in some colder air during the day on Monday. And here we go. Notice it just kind of retrogrades back. Did you see that over this particular time period from Monday night into Tuesday morning, all the way as late as Tuesday morning? It tended to retrograde back. Snow falling at this time still Tuesday morning in the I-95 corridor region from D.C. to Philadelphia to New York City, and snowing pretty heavily at this time across New York City. And it finally starts to wind down here by late Tuesday as it pulls up at this time all the way into New England. This is the Tuesday evening forecast map. So once again, we had snow as early as Sunday in the I-95 corridor region, associated with phase 1 of this event. That's the overrunning or the warmer air advection, where warmer air rides up and over the Arctic air that will be in place across the northeastern part of the nation. The Ohio Valley system produces that snowfall on Sunday and into Sunday evening. Then the coastal low takes over, produces coastal storm type precipitation in the I-95 corridor region throughout the northeastern quadrant from Monday into Tuesday, and it finally pulls on away by the time we get to Wednesday morning. Quite a long duration event. And this is, by the way, the forecast map of total snowfall from last night's run of the Canadian model, and it certainly holds out the possibility of 6 to 12 inches or more in the I-95 corridor region. This, of course, will change as we get closer and closer to the event, maybe up some, down some, but this gives a good idea. I think it's a pretty good hand on the situation that a significant snowfall is perhaps coming to the Mid-Atlantic region, the northeast U.S., again extending from Sunday all the way into Tuesday of next week. Well, one last thing I wanted to point out here. Again, I think the GFS is continuing to have a little bit of difficulty. It just puts too much emphasis on the Ohio Valley storm, has it a little bit stronger, lasting a little bit longer, and therefore it warms the atmosphere in the I-95 corridor region, I believe, a little too much compared to what will end up happening. This is the 12Z run of the GFS, the forecast map for Sunday evening. And notice here the range snow line right across the Pennsylvania-Maryland border at this particular time. Again, this is the very latest GFS model run, 12Z. Look at the NAM model for the same time here. This is the 12Z NAM model run, the 12-kilometer version of the NAM. Notice the range snow line way down south and east of D.C., up across central Virginia, the southern part of the Delmarva Peninsula. A big difference here between the latest GFS and the NAM. I believe the Canadian model today will lead more towards this particular solution. Again, I think the GFS will probably become colder and colder over its next few runs, but big difference right now. And I think, again, the Canadian model, maybe the NAM model, is a pretty good hand on the situation. Right now, the NAM model only goes out to Sunday evening, but I just want to point out some information about the latest run of the GFS and the NAM model. So again, a lot going on here. We have an Arctic blast now coming into the Mid-Atlantic region, the northeast U.S. Very cold air mass for the next few days. It will set the stage for what looks like will be a significant winter storm and a long duration event Sunday, Monday, into Tuesday of next week for the northeastern quadrant of the nation. That's it for now. For PerspectiveWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.